Hello, everybody. My name is Chase Middleton, and today I would like to discuss with you a business communications current event that deals with giving a well received presentation. In dealing with this topic, I found an article titled Three Communication Skills 35 Business Legends, Billionaires, and TED Experts Have in Common. And this article was written by Carmine Gallo, who is a former CNN anchor and a Wall Street Journal business author, best-selling author. In his article, he discusses three key factors that a person should include in their speech to be better received. So today I would like to discuss with you these three different aspects of giving a well-received speech. So firstly, Gallo says that in order to give a well-received speech, a person needs to reset their internal mindset. And in saying this, he says that a person is not able to inspire others until or unless he has also been inspired by himself. And in saying this, he's relating that the person giving the presentation needs to be moved by the information or at least have a connection with the information that can be seen within the audience, because the audience also looks at the speaker with not just giving the presentation of the information, but seeing what kind of connection the person has with the information. And therefore, once the speaker shows that they have a connection, then the information would be better received by the audience, and the audience can form their own connection. In showing this inspiration within yourself with that topic, the person needs to be confident and knowledgeable. So knowing the information is not just good enough. The person needs to present the information with confidence so that the audience can feel comfortable watching the person and just be able to soak in the information. And being confident and knowledgeable, the person would be better to sell his or her ideas. Secondly, Gallo introduces that you should tell stories that triumph over adversity. In stating this, he relates that everybody can make connections with someone who has had to struggle with something. That's because everyone in life has had some struggles, whether big or small, that they've had to overcome. In Gallo's article, he talks about Howard Schultz, which is the CEO of Starbucks, who started from not so great beginnings but built a great life for himself. And with this story, I put a quote up here on my poster because it seemed very inspirational to me and very important. And the quote says, "The more uninspiring your origins, the more likely you are to use your imagination and invent worlds where everything seems possible." I thought this was important in showing triumph over adversity, because even though everyone cannot come from great backgrounds, that doesn't mean that you cannot come and make a great life for yourself. So you can all come from small beginnings and make a brighter future for yourself. And in telling these stories in triumph over adversity, you can connect better with the audience. The third aspect that Gallo presents in his article relates to making the majority of your speech, 65% to be correct, that of personal stories. In relation to this, I've put a diagram down here that shows in blue that personal stories make up 65% of all the speeches that Gallo took into account for when he was creating his study to put in his article. And therefore, 35% of the speech is made up of facts and other information. And of course, facts and knowledge and other information about the topic need to be in the speech. But in order to make the audience better receive your information and make connections, there need to be a lot of personal stories as found by Gallo. And in saying this, the audience needs to make some type of an emotional connection. So you need to tell emotional stories as well. That way the audience can make some kind of tie with the information. And that way, if you can make a connection with certain information that's being presented, then you'll be able to better persuade the audience to do what you're asking them to do. If it's persuasive or if it's just being informational, they can make connections and remember what your speech is about. So you're building this common ground through different kinds of stories and different aspects that make emotional connections. In dealing with these emotional stories, Gaio talks about a person who started off a speech with a story about his grandmother. And up here I put a quote of his response, which was, because everyone has a grandmother. So, like I mentioned earlier, this quote is basically stating you should make emotional stories that everyone can relate to. So, not necessarily, it has to be about your grandmother, obviously, but you can make a story that the people in the audience can mostly relate to, and that way everybody can take home a connection with the information. And continuing with this personal stories, you need to make the stories have two key pieces, and that is that the stories should relate to the theme of your speech, because you don't just want to tell random stories. You need to tell a story that relates to the theme. That way the audience can make a connection with the information that you're presenting. And secondly, you want to promote empathy and emotion. So telling a story about your grandmother or other emotional stories can help the audience to connect with the information. So in conclusion, with these three pieces of inspiring yourself, telling stories that triumph over adversity, and making emotional stories and personal stories 65% of your speech, Gaio says that anybody's business communication speech can be well received. And that's why this information is important for business communications current events. Thank you for listening.